Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a deeply frustrating, honestly kind of baffling, but incredibly human paradox. Sometimes, the harder you try, the worse it gets. Okay, let's dive into this because I can pretty much guarantee you've experienced this exact frustration. It goes against literally everything we're taught about success, work ethic, and achievement, right? You want an outcome so desperately, you throw all your mental energy at it, and somehow, it just seems to slip further and further away. Think about trying to fall asleep. We've all been there. It's late, you get into bed, close your eyes, and just command yourself, okay, I need to sleep now. 10 minutes pass, you toss, you turn, you check your phone, you start doing that awful mental math. If I fall asleep right this second, I can still get exactly 4 hours and 12 minutes of sleep. That thought creates immense pressure. That pressure makes you alert. And suddenly, just by trying so hard to sleep, you are completely, stubbornly wide awake. Or, oh, how about this one? You see someone walking toward you. You know them. You definitely know you know them, but you're trying so hard to pull their name out of your brain that your mind just completely wipes itself clean. It's like a computer crashing. It goes entirely blank right when you need that piece of information the most. Or maybe you're walking into a big conversation or an important meeting, and you tell yourself, just sound confident. Be confident. But because you were trying so unbelievably hard to project that confidence, every single word that comes out of your mouth suddenly feels awkward, forced, and completely robotic. It's agonizing. And it's agonizing because it directly challenges a core lesson we've all been spoon-fed since childhood. If you want something badly enough, try harder. Work harder. Focus harder. Push harder. Never give up. And sure, most of the time, effort really does matter, but there is this strange threshold where more effort stops helping us and actually starts punishing us. The problem isn't always that you aren't trying hard enough. Sometimes, the real problem is that you are trying way too hard. To see how this builds, let's circle back to our sleep example for a second. The wild thing about sleep is that you cannot simply force it into existence. You can absolutely create the perfect conditions for it, right? You can make the room dark, set a comfortable temperature, put away all your distractions. But eventually, you hit a wall. Reaching the goal requires effort up to a certain point, but that final, crucial step, it requires you to just let go. You literally have to stop trying to make it happen. And this brilliantly illustrates a much larger phenomenon, especially when we look at physical skills. Consider this comparison: automatic performance versus manual control. Imagine you've practiced shooting a basketball thousands of times. Your body knows what to do. It's totally automatic. Your eyes judge the distance, your muscles adjust, your brain coordinates the entire movement without a second thought. But then someone says, hey, this shot is important, do not mess it up. Boom. Suddenly, you switch to manual control. You start consciously thinking about the angle of your elbow, your grip, how much force you're using. Instead of just performing, you start watching yourself perform. And that traps you in what psychologists call choking under pressure. It creates this agonizing infinite loop. Step 1, you try harder. Step 2, because you're trying harder, your attention turns inward. You notice yourself and start monitoring every tiny movement. Step 3, you notice the awkwardness and start getting nervous. Step 4, you perform worse. And what do you do then? You try even harder, feeding right back into the loop. It's like trying to manually drive a car that was built to be fully autonomous. And you know what? Our brains can make this even worse. Let's do a quick live thought experiment right now. Seriously, do not think about a white elephant. I mean it. Do not picture one. Don't imagine its giant ears. Don't picture it standing right there in the room with you. Do not imagine its trunk moving around. Now, what's really interesting about this is I can practically guarantee you just failed that instruction and thought about a white elephant. Why? Well, this brings us to psychologist Daniel Wagner's research. He coined the term ironic mental processes. When you try to suppress a thought, your brain actually has to monitor it to make sure you aren't thinking about it. It has to constantly run a background check. Am I thinking about the elephant? And the split second you check, bam, you've brought the exact thought right back to the front of your mind. This traps us in what we can call the checking trap. Think about how this plays out in your daily life. You tell yourself, don't be nervous. But to obey that command, your brain literally has to check for nerves, which obviously makes you focus on being nervous. You think, don't embarrass yourself, and instantly your brain starts frantically searching for and visualizing embarrassing mistakes. Your brain is trying its best to obey you, but fighting the thought forces you to check for the thought, ironically creating the exact opposite of what you wanted. So, does this mean effort is completely useless and we should all just give up? Absolutely not. The real issue here is where you place your effort. There is a massive, game changing difference between productive effort, which is focused on the process, and desperate effort, which is entirely obsessed with the outcome. Productive effort says, okay, I will do what I can control. I will practice, I will show up, I will put in the work. Desperate effort, on the other hand, says, this absolutely must work out exactly the way I want it to, or else. Which leads us to a really uncomfortable question. What happens when the task actually becomes a judgment of your worth? When your emotional state depends entirely on getting that specific outcome, when you don't just want the job, but you literally need it to prove you're valuable, or you need a specific person to choose you, the pressure explodes. Trying harder becomes incredibly exhausting because you aren't just doing a task anymore. You are fighting off the possibility of failure every single second of the day. So what's the fix? The antidote to this exhausting cycle is a psychological state called flow. You've probably heard of it. It's a state of deep absorption in a task where you are entirely focused on doing, not constantly evaluating yourself. When you're in flow, whether you're drawing, driving a car, playing an instrument, or just having a really great conversation, you aren't pausing every 5 seconds to ask, am I doing this correctly? You are simply absorbed in the action. Conscious control takes a back seat, and your trained abilities take over naturally. Because, let's be real, human attention is incredibly limited. Think about it using this metaphor. It's like trying to walk while staring intensely at every single individual step you take. Can you do it? Yeah, sure. But it becomes strangely difficult and incredibly awkward. You might even trip. The more of your limited attention you spend evaluating how you're doing, the less attention you actually have left for doing the thing itself. So, the crucial point is really understanding this divide. What you can control versus what you cannot control. You can control your preparation, your practice, your effort, and how decently you treat other people. You absolutely cannot control if someone loves you back, if a company decides to hire you, or if you guarantee 100% absolute perfection. Emotionally, accepting this is incredibly tough because uncertainty makes us squirm. So we try to control more, we overanalyze, and when that fails, we push even harder. But we just end up exhausting ourselves trying to control things that were never fully ours to control in the first place. And this brings us to the profound, almost contradictory lesson of this explainer, the true paradox of letting go. Instead of trying to control reality, you control your response to reality. You have to care, absolutely, but without becoming desperate about it. You have to work hard and prepare, but without constantly looking over your own shoulder. You have to really want something, while fully, genuinely accepting that you might not get it. Letting go isn't giving up. Actually, scratch that. It's a completely different, much healthier form of control. Because when you finally drop that desperate need for control, everything shifts. It really does. Failure, it just becomes information. Rejection becomes information. A bad performance or a silly mistake, it's literally just data. When you stop treating every single outcome as a life-or-death verdict on your human worth, you no longer have to spend all your brain's precious energy trying to protect yourself from every uncomfortable possibility. And ironically, that freedom is exactly what allows you to perform better. Your brain is finally free to just do the thing you practiced for. Let's leave this explainer with one final thought. The goal isn't to stop trying, but maybe it is to stop turning every single part of your life into a battle. What if the absolute smartest thing your brain can do isn't to push harder, but to just let go? Sometimes the harder you squeeze, the faster things slip right through your fingers. And sometimes the very moment you stop forcing an outcome is the exact moment you finally give yourself enough space to let it happen. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this helps you approach your next big hurdle with a little less force and a whole lot more flow.